Anybody got another book to put behind here? That's probably heavy enough. Just give me that. All right, perfect. Just give me that.
Huh?
The camera kind of slant.
Yeah, it's about, yeah, I can see. It's good.
So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the originator of all truth, the sender of all prophets. We thank him for all of the prophets that he sent and the revelations that they brought to uplift fallen humanity. And we thank Allah for the saints of those prophets who mastered the inner secrets of their teachings. And we ultimately thank the master of them all, and our Sayyidina Muhammad, alayhi salam, and our Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba. But if honestly words cannot express the thanks that I would give, that we have one in our midst that has dedicated a particular amount of time, and well, the majority of his life, to go and be among the masters and become master, so that he can come back and bring this teaching into the hells of North America and make masters. And you all know who I'm speaking of, our beloved Sheikh Sufi Salihu, in their most holy and righteous names I greet you once again, the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. I would have to say, just in honor of the recent station, I have to give a special amount of thanks and homage to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who technically my first sheikh, put me on the path, and to the Ensign Camille that taught him, who would even make a sheikh like Ahmadu Bamba even relevant to me. I wouldn't be in nowhere talking about Islam as mathematics if it wasn't for that man coming and bringing this teaching to us, and showing the reality that that every time you look at a black man, you're looking at God, and that Allah, la ilaha illallah, and giving us that reality. So it's a tremendous honor that upon receiving the station, Sheikh gave me his name, Farad Wali, and I prayed that I could live up to that and deliver whatever it is that I'm supposed to deliver. It's funny, Sheikh, because I was just telling Sheikh yesterday, I saw this, so that it's becoming more, the telepathics are becoming more clear, because I was supposed to tell him, you're experiencing your last day as Imam, Sheikh is coming, and boom, it just happened. I swear to Allah that just happened. So Allah is definitely in the room, definitely, in the form of our Sheikh, and so we are grateful. So I was thinking about my talk. I'm going to give it in an unusual way, different from how I usually do it. Because when I was thinking back on the previous talks, sometimes there's a lot that gets lost in the delivery of so much. So I want to make some kind of impactful landmarks in your mind in just the whole detox message. So I'm going to title this talk after the way that I teach it in the order, internal ablution, or we could say internal wudu, because we've been dealing with the science of wudu, and wudu is cleansing the body using the prayers and the intention, but we want to talk about wudu in a digestive, nutritional way. For the last 25 years or more, I built my career in business off of one thesis or one axiom, which is, and you can say this with me, say nutrition without detoxification is nutrition. So what does that mean? Exactly what I said, exactly what we said. Nutrition without detoxification is no nutrition at all, especially if you've been on the standard American diet for any amount of time. Standard American diet is eating the wrong foods and eating them too many times a day, not giving enough time to digestively rest. So inside of that axiom, I want to focus on the without detoxification part. That's all we're going to talk about today. So if you take some good notes, because I'm going to give you some good landmarks to keep in mind. So the first one is every disease, write this down. Every disease, no matter what the medical name it is known by, there's only one disease. Anybody that's not a Dr. Detox student, who can guess what the one disease is? Is it, say it again? Mucus would be the means to the disease. Yes. Constipation. Constipation is because the mucus, whether in liquid form or solid form, is what produces obstruction in the body, right? I'm not going to even talk a whole bunch about foods and what to eat, because in the book How to Eat to Live, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we start getting, like toward the end of book 2, you start hearing him say things like, no matter what you eat, only eat them, never eat them more than once a day. And he was focusing more so on the how than the what. So that's what we're going to talk about, the how, and we're going to talk purely about detoxification, okay? Now, every disease, that's pretty extreme, Dr. Wali, to say every disease is constipation. I thought constipation was I ate some macaroni and cheese today, or 2 days ago, and I haven't gone since. I thought that was constipation. No, that is bowel constipation, because that particular area of the body is obstructed. What I want to do is give you a more expanded view of this word that we've been misusing. So basically, constipation means obstruction. Anytime there's a blockage, no matter where it is, if it's in the circulatory system, if it's in the arteries, if it's in the brain where the blood and energy flow can't get to the brain, and then one side of the body stops. We're going to go into all the medical names, but you're going to see that at the root of all of this, by the end of our talk, you'll see that all of this is constipation. So Dr. Detox is kind of like the little boy in the Matrix with the spoon. Anybody ever see the Matrix? Remember what he said? There is no spoon, there is no disease. It's all constipation. Okay, so that's my thesis. I could really leave right now, and if you could grasp that in fill in the details, you would have added 50 years to your life just from that right there. Okay. Now, let's build a first floor. If every disease is constipation, how does constipation happen? First, let's see if that's true. Let's play with this a little bit. We're gonna play a game of instead of name that tune, we're gonna name that disease. So I'm going to mention a disease, what they say that it does, and then you're going to give me what that disease is constipation of, right? So I'm going to throw out an illness and how it affects particular organs, and then you're going to tell me what they said it is, right? Okay. So let's say that, anybody ever heard of reflexology? Okay, who can tell me just a one sentence about reflexology? What is it? Anyone? Reflexive? Mound builder, yes. What is reflexology?
Reflexology is understanding that all of the nerve endings of the body come down to the feet, really the feet, and by touching and manipulating those points, it actually affects changes in the body.
Absolutely. Did everybody hear what he said?
Yes.
There's reflexes in different parts of the body that are affected to the organs, and you could manipulate those organs from the points. And if you're sensitive enough, you could actually feel it happen. There's reflex points in the hand, right? That if you stimulate those points, you can feel your liver secreting. There's points in the feet. There's face analysis, which is another form of reflexology, right? Iridology is a form of reflexology too. Of course, you don't use needles for the eye, hopefully, right? There's ear, reflexology, all these ancient forms of medicine. But guess what? All of these reflex points that I just mentioned all have a root system that they all feed from. So when the ear, the lungs, the kidneys, the spleen, the stomach, the brain, everything, the sex glands, everything, the bones, when they go to get nutrition, they go to this one central place to get fed. So by affecting that one central place, you are in essence affecting the whole body. Does that make sense? Who could probably guess what the reflex point, where that root system is? Digestive system. In the small, specifically the colon, in the large intestine. And this is what's interesting, because we can make reflex points for the small intestine and the colon, but there's more reflex points in the colon than in the small intestine. What's interesting about that is that in the small intestine is where absorption happens. So when your food is broke down, the small intestine is like a juicer that grabs the liquid part and sends it back to the cells. Yet there's more reflex point in the colon, where the removal of water and the food becoming solid, or the refuse becoming solid, so it can all come out. So this right here spells a big point in terms of medical science, because based on how clean the large intestine is will determine how well the small intestine absorbs food. Did y'all hear me? Let me say it again. Because you would think it would be the other way around. You would think that the small intestine, because of absorption happens right there, shouldn't that be the focal point? No, because nutrition without detoxification is what? What is the without detoxification? If the large intestine is not clear enough, then the small intestine is going to be not only absorbing what's in the food, but it's going to also be absorbing the feces that never left. So that means right now, some of our cells, some of our tissues are not only made up of food, but of previous meals and waste that didn't leave out of the body. So this is why when you get a person that's been eating a particular way for a long time, their main concern is losing weight. They're like, I don't want to look different. Well, guess what? The body never loses what it's supposed to have. So if you lost the majority of how you look, guess what that means? Huh? I mean, somebody's full of something, right? Dr. Detox has built a whole career. I get away with telling people they full of crap and not get hit for stuff thrown at me. America, if we understand an American diet, we're full of crap. All of us. To the point where there's a verse where the scriptures say we stink in the nostrils of God. They might be a little literal, might just be literal, if we have anywhere from 10 to 50 pounds of uneliminated waste that's still in the body from times we were younger than this young man. From the time we were children, some foods never completely digested, never completely left, and have thereby become integrated into the tissues, the organs, the cells, what you call you. Absolutely. Medical science never told us that, did they? So this is why 30 years ago, I started talking about gut health, and nobody was talking about this at all. I was considered a quack to be making such assertions that everything, one person said, Dr. Detox has done such a good job of studying the colon that he's figured out a way to make it seem like it has something to do with everything else in the body. So they saying I was just such an extremist that I just was so tunnel vision on the gut that I just made up a way to say that it affects everything else. 30 years later, you watching an Activia yoga commercial, what do they say? The gut is the health of the body. Well, okay, we know the white man's ice is colder, we understand. When I was saying it, I was a quack, but now everybody's saying it. But now everybody's right. They finally have caught up to a universal truth that all the ancients knew. When you went through the spiritual system of Isa, the prophet Isa, in the Essene Gospel of Peace, guess what the real baptism was? The baptism was an internal cleanse. It wasn't just being dipped in water. If Christians had to go through what they went through, wouldn't be no churches in America. You had to go through a supreme, it was like 4 or 5 different detox classes to even be considered a disciple.
Right.
Yes.
So, in connection to that, the 40 days and 40 nights was an initiation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now, I'm glad you said that, because if only for you to be, in order for you to be able to accomplish that, your body had to be in a certain level of purity already. So before they so this the 40 day, 40 night is like this practice. You had to be at a certain level of cleanliness because you would die. You 40 days, you've been eating 40 years of crap, and now you're gonna go 40 days without eating. We're gonna be at your funeral not long from now, right? So you had to already have gone through the other steps. And he goes so far as to say, in Isa, Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, so far as to say, you have to be sweet smelling before God and the angels to be considered worthy. So you had to smell sweet internally, not because you put some cologne and perfume on, but you had to smell like that emanating from within, right? So that means once upon a time we didn't stink in the nostrils of God. We smelled like lilies of the valley because you are what you eat. And if we were eating as nature intended, we wouldn't smell like we smell in all of this. Yes. That is interesting because that's a trait, that's a common, I've studied the life and death, quote unquote, of great saints and avatars, and that's a common thing that they always say. They have a sweet smell that they emanate, but also these masters don't eat like everybody else. And that always gets overlooked. We look at the prayers, and we're so willing to do everything else but that. We'll go in the mountains and stay for 5 months and take our Doritos with us. I said Bishmagal. Yes, they shaped like a pyramid.
I wanted the veggie. I wanted the veggie back over what he said.
Yes.
And remind us that fasting was a war tactic, a spiritual weapon.
Yes.
In war, fasting
Absolutely.
was one of the things we needed.
Absolutely. Because it's hard to control a man who doesn't have a certain level of appetite.
Yes.
You can't be ruled. You know? Man, because you imagine, I mean, it's like what Cheikh was saying yesterday about when COVID came in the way of the Sufi, it just made us blend right in. I was happy to have a mask on because knock and zikr and people don't think I'm talking to myself. That was perfect. We could stay in the house. You know, so you put a saint in seclusion with no food, he gonna say, bet, I need to fast anyway. You can't rule a man like that. But most of us are gonna die from our appetites. All you gotta do is just close McDonald's for a week. It'll be mayhem and chaos, havoc, man. Right? So, all right. So, okay, let's play name that disease. So, if the colon, have I painted the point that the root system is in the colon?
Yes.
So, if I was a reflexologist, I could do reflexology on your feet. Affect your liver, kidneys, colon, brain, heart. And let's say if I did a reflexology on your feet and then I gave you a liver cleanse to do. If this root system is not addressed, guess what's going to happen to your liver in little to no time? It's going to be right back. It's just like cleaning up the house but not taking the trash out. You use bleach. I'm like, Ma, I use bleach and pine sol. I even poured pine sol on the trash. I took bleach and poured it on top of the trash. Did you take the trash out? No, but I cleaned over the trash. No, you have to take the trash out. So if you don't address that, that organ set doesn't get fed. Okay, so that being said, let's go into this. So let's say the pancreas point of the colon. Anybody know about the pancreas? Anybody ever heard of this organ?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody knows what it does? Okay, so let's say you're eating sugar. You know everything turns into sugar before the cells can use it, right? Everything. If it's fruit, when you see OSE, a little chemistry from the past, OSE means sugar. So if it's fruit, what is that? Fructose, fruit sugar. If it's lettuce, cellulose, plant sugar, right? If it's milk, lactose, milk sugar. So everything turns into sugar before the cells can use it. Sugar is the food of the cells. That makes sense? So there's really no such thing as a sugar-free diet unless you're a breatharian. everything that you eat will turn into sugar. Now, when they're saying sugar, they're saying C and H, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about natural sugar that's in everything we eat. So when you eat, your body takes the sugar, it has to visit the pancreas first. The pancreas sends insulin to break the sugar down to make it convertible for the cells. So let's say that point in the colon is clogged up. The pancreas point in the colon is clogged up. So when the pancreas went there to get its pay, the doors was closed. The colon was like, I ain't got nothing for you, pancreas. You know what I'm saying? You have to come back. So, yes.
I just had a question.
Yes, sir. I mean,
Is that a significance in connection to diabetes in the African American community?
yes, you jumped ahead. Absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. No. That's good. That means the subject is working. That means what the game is working. So what I was going to say is that when the pancreas now, because it's deficient, because it didn't get paid, right? So when the fruit, vegetables, milk, whatever goes to the pancreas, it doesn't send insulin now to break down the sugar. Sugar is converted into cells, but it has to be broken down a particular way before it can be chemically used. If that doesn't happen, you just have raw sugar in the system. That condition is what he just named, which is diabetes, right? So I'll give you that one. But is it really diabetes? Say it louder. No, it is constipation of the pancreas, right? There is no spoon. There's only yourself. There is no disease. There's only constipation, right? Okay. So let's say, can I have one of those sticks to thin this room? Can I use this in the, where's our sister? So let's say that this is a hose. This is a water hose, right? And it's on full blast, like a fire hydrant hose. And I step on this part of the hose. Is the water going to stop? Say it again. No, okay, but the water will. Yes, exactly. So it paused, but it didn't stop. In fact, it just stopped. It paused. Unless I turn the water off, that's what's going to stop it. But as long as that water is coming, so what are we going to hear right here? If we put our ear to it, what's that's going to sound like right there? Louder, right? Now, this is your veins. The water is blood. My foot is obstruction from mucus that's solidified in the veins. So now it's making a small opening more smaller. Blood still tries to flow through that. Right there, that's, what do we call this condition medically? High blood pressure. Why high blood pressure? Because the pressure increased because of the obstruction. Now, what do I have to do to get this to flow? See how easy that is? So look, when you take blood pressure medicine, this is what the blood pressure, okay. Let's say, this is the perfect tool to use. So let's say this, this right here is the vein, right? What is this right here? Obstruction, let's say that part right there is blood. That opening. You guys see my eye? I see you, that much is blood. It's supposed to be this big, but now due to obstruction, it's this big. That make sense? The only thing that medicine does, blood pressure medicine, does this. It widens the blood vessel. I knew I was hitting something. It widens the vessel. But is this still here?
Yes.
So guess what happens when the medicine wears off? So that's why you got to keep taking it. It never addressed the problem. So Dr. Wali, what are you saying? This is what I'm saying. Young man, come here. Come here for a second. Pull this until it's out the hole. Pull this and take it with you. That's removing high blood pressure. because we removed the thing that produced the pressure. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, say this accent. Say this accent with me. Say V equals P minus O. Say it again. V, which equals vitality, equals P, which equals power, minus O equals obstruction. Vitality equals power minus obstruction. The vitality was the water flowing. That's the blood. That every time that pulse happens, that's vitality. Every time you breathe and breathe out, that's vitality. Right? Power. So the obstruction, look at the mathematical formula. V equals P minus O. We could have stopped right there. I had a student in my class one time, so real highly intellectual. He said, Doc, you could have just said V equals P, vitality equals power, and ended the equation. But guess what? If you've been in America, you can't say V equals P. You have to say minus O because your whole life has been O. You ain't even experienced V at all. Even when you taking vital mins or vital minerals, vitamins, you still not experiencing vitality because the vitamins can't even absorb into the system. Does that make sense? So V equals P minus O, in that case of high blood pressure, or was it really high blood pressure? What was it? Constipation of what? The circulatory system. Yes, all of those answers. But the circulatory system. And guess what? This has levels too, because let's play with the circulatory one. So, okay, let's say that we didn't take our foot off the hose, right? And the medicine worked so good, and then the doctor was even so nice, he told us we didn't have to change what we eat. So we bragging, girl, he said I ain't even have to change my diet or nothing. I can just take this medicine. And they say it's made out of some kind of plant too, right? Obstruction's still there. It opens up, wears off, the foot goes back on the hose. So now over time, you got to remember, the body is a mechanism of the flow of water, air, and it's really just a variable of pressures. So if you hold your breath, that increases the pressure of your circulation. Like you can literally feel your pulse speed up if you hold your breath, or you can slow it down. That's because the pressure changes based off of the way the energy and everything is moving. Does that make sense? The same as if we took our foot on or off of the hose. So let's say we keep going with that medication. We didn't change what we eat, so now the obstruction that was that big is now this big. It increased. But guess why we never noticed? Because the blood vessels widened in the medicine, so we had no reason to think that it increased. So we kept taking the medicine for years and years and kept eating the wrong foods. So now it increased and increased and increased. And then one day you end the aisle at Walgreens and all of a sudden the left side of your face don't work anymore. What do they call that condition? Is it really a stroke? What is it? It's still a constipation of the circulatory system, but this we could call a chronic constipation. Chronic comes from the word chronos. Chronos, CHRNOS, means time. Time. It's a Greek word, means time, chronos. What do you mean chronos constipation? What do you mean chronic disease? It's either a disease or it isn't. What they're saying when they're saying chronic disease, that's an old disease. It's had some time. So you got young disease, you got young constipation, young buck constipation over here. But us, we chronic constipation because we've been here eating on the standard American diet longer. Right? So chronic don't mean nothing exaggerated. It just means constipation that's been sitting there. No more than if you took a pile and just never swept it up. Kept sweeping the pile and then coming back to it, right? Okay. So let's do another circulatory one. Since America leads the world in heart disease, we have more circulatory problems than anybody in the world. And or the most obese, I think in the top 10 of obese countries in the world too, right? Yet we're overfed and undernourished, which makes absolutely no sense. How are we overeating yet underfed at the same time? Does that even make sense? How are you eating more but eating less? Because nutrition without detoxification is no nutrition. If you can see the water down. So let's say this is the side view of the colon. Y'all probably like, why didn't Dr. Detox bring props with him if you knew he was going to be teaching? Because I like using simplistic props because it makes it easy for everybody to understand. You don't need no medical tracks and terminology and anatomy boards to hear what I'm saying to you. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, make the truth so simple that a fool couldn't make a mistake. The dumbest quote-unquote person in existence, if you can understand that everything is basically the flow of energy, blood, and so forth, and if that flow is interrupted, that's going to produce other problems in the body. You just as wise as any medical doctor out there. He just got a sophisticated way of saying constipation. But do we care if it's, I didn't go today, chronic constipation, whatever the name is. No, I need to know what the issue is, and the issue is V equals P minus O. So let's say right here, if I cut your colon in half, and we can see the side view of it, you would see, you see how this is a hole in the middle right here? This is a good example because this is literally what you will see. You will see that hole in the middle. Can everybody see that? That middle point? And then you will see a darker portion right here. Who can guess what the darker portion right here is? Compounded stuff that ain't been released. Chronic constipation, right? Old constipation. And sometimes it'll be layers of it. Sometimes it might start off brown here and be jet black back here because this is the young buck constipation that you just ate, and this is old news constipation from like a lady that was in her late 30s. They used to eat crayons when she was 5, and she did a cleanse and the crayons came out. Where was the crayons at for 30 years? Stuck in my legs. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I wanted to, like after hearing all this, I wanted to change my eating habits and my diet first.
Absolutely.
And even when I have to detox first.
Let's see. Let's see if you would. So, okay, I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna see if this can answer you. So, along the walls of the small and the large intestine, there are these like hair-like filias. They kind of look like, if you see the beautiful beads that our sister back there make, see, with the like strand, the elegant looking strands that's on the end like that, yes. There's hair-like filias that are along the walls. Those hair-like filias are sponges that go and take the liquid portion of the food and send it back to the cells, right? So if you got 15 to 50 pounds of waste where the sponge is, how much absorption is taking place? So let's say you've been chronically constipated for 40 years, now you're gonna be a vegan. Are you saying it's not gonna work? Of course it's not. Of course it's gonna work. But you're gonna spend the first 3 years detoxifying this. So I'm saying why waste that food? You're wasting food doing that. You ate a bunch of produce and the body got that much use out of it. So why waste the produce? Get something that's gonna go in and swell up and grab that, pull it out. Now start eating right. The book says you can't put new wine in old vessels. You gotta change the vessel first. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? Nutrition without detoxification is what? Nutrition. There's no hope for nutrition. If you've been in America, understand it. I've heard some people call it the satanic American diet. If you've been on that diet any period of time and you have never practiced any kind of fasting, and you haven't practiced any kind of effective cleanse. Okay, yes sir.
So you just said you need something that can swell up, pull however many years we've been on this diet of vitamins. You know, lighten us on whoop.
Well, I don't want to make it seem like a sales pitch, but I'll mention it at the end.
That was my avenue.
I know, thank you. He's trying to give me he's trying to be a Dr. Detox advocate right now. Appreciate it. But I just wanna first, before I sell you anything, what I want to sell you is on yourself in the concept of understanding how important constipation is. Because whether it's my product or whether it's you just deciding to eat prunes for the next 3 months, whatever it is, you need to get it in your mind that I got to go in here and clean the house. Stop trying to put new furniture in a filthy house. Man, maybe if I just fix the furniture, then it won't look so dirty in here. No, the furniture is going to be dirty in here because it's a dirty house. Clean the house first. So my mom used to call nice nasty. Remember when you try to clean up real quick and you mop stuff under the couch and all of that? No, clean up for real. Yeah, clothes stuffed everywhere. So, okay. So let's do another one. Let's say, because y'all still don't believe me. Y'all still don't believe what I just said about everything being constipation. So that's why I'm picking on you like this, because I want to overly drive the point home that it is. So I'm going to see if we can find some exception to the rule, right? So let's say 80% of the immune system is in the gut. They never told us this before, because we would all been eating right if we knew that. 80% of the immune system, which is the system responsible for fighting when disease shows up, right, is in the gut. It's not the same, like located like a nerve ending point. It's in the gut, in the cells of the gut. The immune system is just sitting there waiting. So if the gut is full of waste and the immune system can be compromised at any point, and let's say the government decided they wanted to do a project on people and blame it on African monkeys and homosexuals. So they created a disease and pumped it into 2 million homosexuals and then took it to Africa and put it in some monkeys. And it started showing up in America around the early 80s. The immune system is compromised. Now you don't have an immune system, not anything can kill you. What do we call this disease? HIV and AIDS. But is it really HIV or AIDS? In light of what I just said. What is it really? Constipation and destruction of the immune system. I have treated AIDS patients. They didn't tell me they was AIDS patients at first though. They told me the other conditions because they was afraid I wouldn't treat them if I knew. But I couldn't get my one. You ever heard of the dancer Catherine Dunham? She's a famous dancer. Her apprentice was one of my patients. And he had kind of wanted to be a testimonial because he believed me, but he found it a little harder to believe in extreme cases like HIV or like another immune, like lupus or something like that. He couldn't see it being the case there. But lupus, HIV, these are side effects of a compromised immune system. That's not a disease in itself. That's a side effect of an immune system that's gone. It's like your immune system is the security system of the body. So you got security guards at the gate. Somebody slipped them something in their drink one day and they went to sleep. And then somebody came in and robbed and ramshacked the house. Right? The ramshack was a side effect of the security guard not being on a post. When the immune system is not on its post, a common cold could kill you. Does that make sense? So even AIDS is not an exception to the rule. As long as the body, when the colon and the small intestine is intact, it will constantly try to renew the body because that's nature's way. Nature's way is renewal. Nothing ever stays the same. It's constantly renewed. Right? Okay. Let's pick one last one. let's say something that would be unlikely. Okay. Let's see. Okay, here's a good one. I'm gonna kind of give you a hint because this one might be hard to guess. So the Latin root for this particular disease, they named this after a Latin root which means white cell. So the cells are covered in something that looks white. So don't say it yet if you know it. But I just kind of gave you a hint right there. So let's say the digestive system is full of waste from white rice, white flour, white sugar, revitalized foods, meat that hasn't been properly cooked, and really meat at all, but especially meat that hasn't been properly cooked. It's going to produce a gooey-like substance that lingers in the body. We call that substance mucus, right? We have a part in the Dr. Detox teaching that says all foods fall into two categories: mucus formers. A mucus former is a food that makes mucus in the body, and then a mucus binder is a food that sweeps the mucus up and throws it out. So let me explain this first, what I'm saying. And this is going to smack the face of a concept that you all have been lied to about. I'm going to do it without even naming the concept. So let's say, okay, lemons. Summertime, everybody loves lemonade, right? I ain't talking about country time lemonade. I'm talking about actual lemonade made from lemons, right? That country kind. Lemons are highly mucus binding. That's why they put it in detergents. That's why it's in your dishwashing liquid. It's a supreme cleanser. When it goes into the body, it literally washes the organs off. It's like you got a sponge that's full of glue. You put some lemon in there, it's gonna take the glue right out of the sponge. So the lemons do that in the body, right? So let's say you like your lemonade strong, so you made a gallon of lemonade and you put 30 lemons in it, the juice from 30 lemons. It's gonna be strong, right? You're gonna feel it back here, right? So when you drink that, if mucus binders grab mucus up and throw it out, and lemons are mucus binding, what should happen when you start drinking that lemonade? You start coughing up mucus, if you have any, right? But if you don't understand the mysteries of what I said, you would think lemons produce the mucus. You would say, every time I drink lemonade, I get mucus out of the lemon. Does that make sense? Now I did 2 for 1. I smacked 2 people for the price of 1 right there. Because there's another food that people keep blaming for mucus. Every time they drink this particular thing, they say I cough up phlegm, and they blame that versus something else. They don't blame the pizza that they ate with white flour crust, the rice that they ate, the Chinaman every day, the chicken with white flour as the crust. They don't blame the not even real cheese, the Velveeta cheese on the cheese fries, right? They don't blame that. But as soon as they drink this particular food and start coughing up phlegm, they blame that food. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Huh? What? Somebody said it? Milk? Now I'm not arguing with no vegan. That's not what I'm doing. Whatever. Do what y'all want to do. If y'all want to do what is it? Acorn milk or whatever. Do that. That's fine. But I'm saying, understanding the nature of these things, understanding what makes it work. The lemon and the milk will both do the same thing because these foods are mucus binders. It binds. So you should be glad when you drink this and cough up phlegm. Because guess where the phlegm was at? In your tissues. It was just sitting there because you didn't eat nothing to get rid of it. Soon as you eat a bunch of something that gets rid of it, you're going to start coughing up phlegm. But if you don't know the nature of that, you'll blame that instead of this. 2 for the price of 1. Alhamdulillah. Yes, sir.
So is that why some people have certain white pus-looking type stuff secreting when they
Absolutely.
skin,
Absolutely.
nose and stuff?
Absolutely.
That's what
Yeah, absolutely.
that's like.
Yes.
Another question, when you were talking about constipation, does that like apply for like the male and female like reproductive system?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ooh, you asking some good questions. That's gonna make me teach some more stuff. So let's say now that we just painted that point and did the slap 2 for 1, let's say we're eating a food that we eating foods. We went to the Chinese buffet and just went crazy, right? And we eating everything other than the fruit and the salad that be up front. We're eating everything else, right? So we got mad goo in the body, mucus, lymph just sitting, and we doing this over long periods. And then we go to the doctor one day and he tells us we have a immunosuppressed immune system disease. This one begins with an L, and it's where the blood count becomes low because the white blood cell count increases. Anybody know what this is called? Is that it? Leukemia. But is it really leukemia? There is no spoon. No, it is. This is really cellular, surface cellular constipation. I had a friend, one of my friends lost his, peace be upon him, lost his son over this very concept. He had been diagnosed with leukemia. And so my friend started trying to treat him, naturally. He started changing his diet and everything. So he goes to the doctor and they tell him, your white blood cell count is very, very, very low. Like almost non-existent. But Carl was larger than life all of a sudden. He was just full of energy and everything seemed better. And so they told him his white blood cell count was low. So they put him in, he went to the hospital. And of course, a lot of these McDevils is in the hospital. You might find white casket in the hospital. You could be in your room and order some white casket, a McDevils, a Murder King, or a Taco Hell, or Hearst's Chicken, right there in the hospital. Right? So they killing you in the place.
It's funny, when my best friend's passed away from leukemia, they was treatment with, what is it called, for cancer, with radiation. Chemotherapy. Yeah. Treating leukemia. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. So, but here's what's interesting. So, first of all, the white blood cell, quote unquote, is really a constipated red blood cell. It's a distortion. It's not even natural to the body. Your body would never produce cells that are white. All of the cells, if you've even seen it, Professor Arnold Arrett, who wrote The Mucusless Diet back in the early 1900s, when they was first developing this lie, he was attacking the lie as they were developing it. He was showing pictures of what the blood cell looks like and then what a white blood, he said, this is just a gob of something. This is not a cell. That's constipated solids just floating around in the body. So when he started eating right, he got rid of those. So of course his white blood cell count was low. His body picked up energy. He started back on the medicine, which meant now he could eat whatever he want. And of course that was pizzas and all other kind of stuff, not made with the right stuff. And he died not very long after. He died with a high blood cell count, a high white blood cell count. It increased the white blood cell count and then his life left. Yes.
Another aspect that he spoke on in his book is how eating right, and there's like with partners when they're eating right and they're like having certain energy, it's like you're trying to have more sun.
Oh yeah, he did a beautiful chapter on that. Yeah, talking about that the survival of the seed of a species is based off of the strength of, because the word sperm means a liquid extract of food. That's the literal Latin meaning spermea, liquid extract of food. So you're not only what you eat, you what your father ate.
Literally.
Yes. Any more questions? I think we laid a good base on constipation. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when you talk about lemonade, so when you just eat the lemon by itself, you get the same.
Absolutely. You'll just have to eat a lot of it.
And then milk, so that if you drink the milk, like,
If you can go get a cow, call all of us. We'll come buy milk from you. That'd be I know I would. The vegans might rather get the grass the cow is eating and make milk out of that. Me, I'm gonna want the milk. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I'll be jabbing it. Yes.
We know like citric fruits like oranges or mangoes and that.
Yes. Those are all highly mucus binding. Yes. I can literally give you a list of mucus binding foods and you'll be amazed. Olives are high on the chart. Green tea is high on the chart. Green tea is one of the highest mucus binding foods. This is where we got the concept of drinking tea when we get a cold. Because the tea is a mucus binder that grabs mucus off of the lungs and make you cough it up. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
You gotta give me a commercial.
For the Dr. Detox product? Okay, I'll say that for the end. Yes. Absolutely. Coffee is a mucus binder. And if you use real cream with it, comes from milk. I'm not saying a bad word. Then it's going to be even more mucus binding. Yes. More questions? Yes, ma'am.
My question goes back to the earlier when you were speaking. I don't know, I know we're not speaking this, but have you read Men's Fire Country?
Yes, I've read through it. I've read it completely, but I know. But go ahead. You have it.
Last stages of the generation.
Mhm.
They say that, I'm just saying this because I was able to relate it because it's in a Quran, the Wali, here, but it pretty much spoke on how, like with us eating, it kind of cost, that also played a major role in the fall. So like kind of how you were saying, like those who smell, like they smell pure. So like, okay, in the 5 stages of this generation, they call it cannibalism or some kind of carnivalism, and that's like eating meat. That's the lowest thing that you could do. And in the Quran, it speaks on how they say, like when we fell, everything fell. When the Holy
Absolutely.
Don't eat beef because of that. It goes into a vibration. So like if you're eating certain foods at higher vibrations, breatharianism being the highest, like that's also like a form of self-mastery.
Absolutely.
But I kind of forgot where I was coming from because you kind of like switched, and I didn't want to like bring it off topic. But,
No. Next time bring it because I'll stay on point. It'll come to you. But that's good points that she's making because the going back to nature's way. It's interesting that in the original man's paradigm, nature is always part of the religion. Like nature is never separate from the religion with us. So the gods of ancient ways are always like in ancient Kemet, we call them nature was net, right? But who were the masters? Who were the gods? Net-toru. They were those that mastered the laws of nature by submitting to them. Because that's the exchange. You don't master the law by trying to run the law. You submit to the law. And then the law submits to you. Does that make sense? Okay. Yes. Absolutely. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think I kind of remember. So in Men's Fire Country, she spoke of people who like practice breatharianism, and it said like they would live to be like 200, and like people just be shocked because like they go through stages in life where their teeth will fall out and they grow back, or their hair will fall out and they grow back, and they say like they would just smell good, and they used to restaurant when you didn't see them like just like they. I don't know, like, still thinking about it to this day, it's sort of like...
But this is what I think Master Muhammad, the Insan Kamil that taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, said these words. He said, food keeps us here. Food keeps us here, but the same food takes us away. So it's really longevity is about finding a middle path in between that. So if food keeps us here and the same takes us away, what is the part that takes us away? The part that takes us away is when we don't allow a complete amount of time for digestion and we're not eating the right foods. So I gave you the formula of life. Now let me give you the formula of death. Now anybody remember the formula of life? Can somebody say it back to me? Vitality equals power minus obstruction, right? Now here's the formula of death. D, death, equals P, power, plus obstruction. See, y'all see how we just covered a whole subject? I ain't said one thing about what to eat. Guess why? Because the how of nutrition is more important than the what. Really, after this, I could say eat what you want to eat. And, you know, of course, not something that's forbidden, but, and, you know, try to stick as close to nature, but I would rather you focus on, oh, my brother's shocked. He can't believe I say eat what you want to eat. I'm saying that to say detoxification is more important than nutrition. That's what I'm saying. Because no matter what you eat, if you give it a right amount of time to digest, at least 24 hours, and longer, if you want more digestion, and then eliminate it, the O will never build up to interfere with P. Do you see that? You notice P and O are in both equations. The difference is if you want vitality, you got to take away O. If you want death, you got to add O. O is the problem. You see what I'm saying? So for whatever you eat, you can get obstructed off of fruit too. You can get obstructed off of navy beans. You can get. It's going to be harder to get obstructed off of that because these foods are more closer to nature. But really, anything that you eat, if it sits in the body, is going to decompose and become a problem. So Master Muhammad says, the food we eat keeps us here, and the same takes us away. So the original man figured a way to balance this by eating to what? Eating to live, not living to eat. Eating enough to live, and then exhausting that, and then eat some more. Exhaust that, then eat some more. Yes, and you'll look up in 1,000 years of it and gone back. Yes, sir.
You realize, I always wonder why in the word diet you have the word diet.
Yes. Yes.
You're telling me the diet is making you die.
Yes. Dr. Salam said you're going to die yet from it. Yes. Indeed. Indeed. Somebody else? Oh, you had a question. V equals P minus O.
Vitality equals power minus.
Yes.
So, could you apply that to like the mass or like the mass?
Absolutely. It's the formula of life, not the formula of health. It applies to anything. I'm gonna give you a more simple. I'm gonna make it completely mundane. Hold on. Universal should be as above, so below, right? So I should be able to teach it up in the mountains and out on the block. I'm going to give you a completely mundane example. You in your car, you driving, beep, beep, this oil light keeps coming on. And it's getting on your nerves, right? So you'd say, hey, hand me the hammer that's in there. Good, we fixed that problem. I don't have to hear this irritating noise no more. That beep, beep was an indicator, it was a signal, it was Mother Nature crying. Do something, do something. But you don't do the something, what's going to happen to your car if you don't change the oil in it? Why? Why does that happen? But what happens in not changing the oil? Say it again. Yes, it's constipation. This is a organic vehicle. That's an inorganic vehicle, but that combustion engine, the engine is a set of valves that's moving like this. In order for this flow to happen, there can't be interruption. If there's any interruption, it locks. That's what they call a car throwing a rod, what they used to call it back in the day. The engine locked. You walking around, your heart locked. Boom. That was too much O. When O becomes greater than P, say that. When O becomes greater than P, the engine ceases to be. O can't outweigh P. If it's more obstruction than power, then the body is like, so really a heart attack is a heart that kept trying. And it's like, hell with this. Boom. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I think, listen.
I know you say you want to talk about food, but since you did that, can you talk about the highest source of food for one to eat?
The highest source of food?
What
Well,
is the highest source of food? This is kind of right?
Well, really, we should be eating really solidified sunlight, which we call plants.
What about what the plants get their food from?
The plants get their food from the sun. Now, this is a conversation I don't like having.
Okay,
No. I don't mean it like that. I'm gonna tell you why though, because I can teach from it. This is the reason I don't, because it's almost like yesterday when we was with Cheikh, we was making salad, and I asked something, and he said, "Look, I'm trying to get people to do the basics. I don't even talk about that." Remember he said that? That's the same thing. We in the hood wrestling with whether we gonna get some corn chips when we get up the street. What are we talking about vegetarianism for? We can't even walk past the bag of Lay's that's in the window at the liquor in the Arizona tea to go with it. Let's stick to basics. Is there breatharianism? Absolutely. Is there prana in the air when you eat less and you breathe a particular way? The reason that the masters could eat less because they also had breathing practices that they practice. They breathe less. 18 breaths a minute is the level of that 666. That's the breathing of a beast. Study the animals, the breathing of dogs when they sleep. Their stomach, the lungs, the chest is constantly moving because they're breathing more. The animals that breathe less are the animals that are more elevated. So the masters breathe, when you breathe less, the inhale pulls more from the atmosphere. So you get that, between that and eating a food that's, basically edible sunlight, that's how the masters eat. But rather people should just think about just getting food straight from the sun, then I'm not saying it's not a subject, but I'm just saying for us, I think let's just go to the bathroom more. I'm just trying to, if we could just stick to that, maybe we could talk later up in the mountains about breatharianism. But while we down here on the block, and we can't even make it past Lee's Chicken without flinching, probably don't we want to be talking about high breathing techniques. I'm just saying. Any more questions? Thanks for that question. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I know you said you're not going to talk about it, but how many breaths did you say? 18 in a minute?
She a scientist.
You said 18 in a minute?
18 breaths per minute.
18 breaths per
That's the breathing of a beast. They had different breathing levels for each state of consciousness. And the lowest level of one was 18 breaths per minute. But here's what's interesting. The more you breathe, breathing also activates appetite. So the beasts that breathe more eat more too. It's interesting. Yes, sir.
Now, in connection to the practices, basic practices,
Yes.
getting into meditation,
Yes.
it be times like I done held my head under the water in the bathtub, perfectly that, and I just kept saying, Allah, 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 and I was able, long story short, to hold my breath way longer than not utilizing that chant in connection to hold my breath.
Well, you know what? But you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. As Sufis, we kind of cheat. We kind of cheat this rule. We kind of cheat. You know why? Because we're regularly manipulating our breath with the zikr.
Right.
You could do that for minutes. I did hours one day. Like 12 hours of this one day. I was breathing, because so you got to think, I was breathing some, but the majority of the time,
That's what, yeah. That's the point of it.
Oh, never mind. You have
Well, no. Let me be clear. Some zealot to hear that said, Dr. Wali, I ain't even got to breathe. I'm just not breathing. If you end up somewhere and they find you, this is my disclaimer. I did not say that. I said I did something. That's okay. Let's be clear. But I'm saying we kind of cheat that rule because we make a habit of manipulating the breath with our zikkers. But if we did that and we were emptier, they'll be saying, I'm going to do Bamba, shake it before. Everywhere you look, you will be saying, yes. All right, any more questions before I end my talk? Okay, so my finishing point would be V equals P minus O, vitality equals power minus obstruction. The opposite of that is death equals power plus obstruction. So the thing that makes death happen more is eating too often. You can fill in the blanks of this later, or if you're interested in finding the details, then contact me about a Dr. Detox class. And I will teach you the A through Z of all of this. And then eating too often, not putting intervals in between your meals, and not practicing the 3 stages of digestion. So this is my last point. Write this down and I'm done. Mother May. It's an acronym. Mother May. M-A-E. What is her name? Mother May. Why we call her Mother May? Because we're dealing with the laws of Mother Nature. The book says, honor thy mother, and your days shall be long. That might be talking about Mother Nature. Because Mother Nature, the laws of Mother Nature is going to determine how far the time gets with you. Right? So honor thy mother and father. Notice it mentioned mother first. It didn't say honor thy father then mother. Honor thy mother because the Essene Gospel of Good Peace says before you even approach the Father, you can't get through the Father except through the mother. Don't even think about the Father and you ain't mastered the laws of Mother Nature. Right? So honor thy mother. In this context, the mother is Mother May. The 3 stages of digestion. Mastication. Write this down. Mastication. That's the M. Mastication is chewing food completely. Mastication is not a bad word. Your children won't go blind from masticating. Right? Masticating. Sometimes I have to do that just to make it stick. Mastication, chewing the food completely. Use your tongue to taste the food. Do you notice people don't taste food anymore? It's like on a cartoon, he's swallowing, you see it just swallowed something whole. Taste the food. Slow down. Take your time. Use your tongue to, do you know that your tongue, the taste buds are antennas that should make it difficult to poison you? You should taste the poison before you ever swallow it. But you ain't, what did you just eat? Oh, what was that? I don't know. Taste it. Use your tongue to feel. Try something that's easy to chew, like a banana. Something that you would easily swallow. And use your tongue to find the solid pieces and don't swallow it until you can't chew it no more. So take something soft, because it's easy to swallow a banana, and make yourself chew it. The food should be like water and it should slide down the throat on its own, meaning you just kept chewing so much that the food just slipped past your throat and went down.
And
Yes.
I just feel like you taking that much time to chew. You ain't gonna be that hungry to eat that whole plate.
Absolutely. There was a guy, Dr. Fletcher, is a naturopath in the 20s in America. He was teaching people to cure disease and lose weight, just telling them to chew like 50, 60 times per bite. So they got so tired of chewing, they just stopped eating as much and start losing weight and getting better. So that's M. A, absorption. See, M happens right here. We can say M-A-E. M happens right here. A happens right here. What is the A? Absorption. The food needs, somebody asked me one time with Doc, if it needs to be chewed until it slides down on its own, it should be something that can be chewed until it slides down on its own, right? So just think about that. Let Mother May help you. Mother May determines the nutrition of a thing. If it can't be chewed, I had this church one time saying, if you can't chew it, don't do it. If you can't chew it without drinking something, without a bunch of sauce on it, until it breaks down on its own, what foods would do that? Foods that got water in them. Strawberries, cherries, lettuce, fruits, vegetables, right? Somebody say, well, that chicken was pretty moist, Doc. That ain't what I'm talking about. That steak was real moist, Doc. I don't know. After you put the A1 sauce on it, it was, I know. But I'm talking about what the A sauce is made out of, which is a fruit. Chewed, foods that can be chewed until it goes down the throat on its own. And if that happens, then absorption is easier to happen. Stage E. Okay, this is my closing point. Stage A. Stage E, elimination. What's stage E? Elimination. In order for elimination to be completely effective, it has to sit more than half a day uninterrupted in the digestive system, in the colon. Drinking and wringing out excess water and pushing it more so to the bottom, because there shouldn't be any pockets in between your waist. It should all come out at the same time, because when it gets to the colon is doing this. It's wringing it out and pressing it like that. So it's just like a plant. If you water that plant and it drink all the water, then you change pots, you should be able to pick the plant straight up. The soil should be shaped like the pot. But if the soil is pasty, what's going to happen when you pick up the plant? It's going to fall apart. That's how your eliminations are coming out. So get rid of all of the excess water and give it enough time to run a complete wash cycle. Does that make sense? So what's the 3 stages? What's Mother May? What's the letters? M-A-E. Honor thy mother. Mother May is our best friend. If we show her love, but she'll whoop our behinds with illness, disease, if we violate her. Yes, ma'am.
I eat right now, then I need to wait a certain amount of time to get that thing, time to leave the body.
Yes, absolutely. And not even necessarily leave the body, but let it at least get to the bottom of the body. Because what's going to happen when you eat that new meal, the other meal is going to come out. So your body should always be full of and emptying out the new meal, not still having old meals. We got 30-year-old meals in it. Some of them that never completely digest. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so without elimination, would that be like defecation, respiration, breathing,
Yes.
sweating?
All of those are forms of elimination, but they all kind of take their lead from the colon. So what doesn't come out of the largest eliminated organ is your skin. But what happens when you properly eliminate? Don't your skin look better? Yeah. Eyes, people say you glowing. Exactly. I'll take maybe one last question. Beloved Cheikh, you want to tell them your experience with cleansing under Dr. Z's tutelage?
I did the cleanse 2 years ago during Ramadan. And as Dr. Wali said that all of the systems in the body have receptors in the colon. So about the about the third week in the cleanse, I noticed I had to take my glasses off to see better. And then by the time I finished the cleanse, I stopped wearing glasses for about 3 months. So the cleanse was removing the feces that was blocking the receptors for my eyes and my colon. I actually started seeing better and didn't have to wear glasses for about 3 months. Then I went back to that damn Chinese buffet.
And he saw, he could see the menu more clearly.
I'm sure if I had kept eating the way I was eating, I wouldn't be wearing glasses. Yeah.
He's a reader.
Yeah, my eyesight was blocked because the receptors in the colon were blocked by feces. Literally. You should have seen me walking around here with no glasses for about 3 months. My brother's an eye doctor. He was like, "Where's your glasses?" I was like, "I did this detox and I don't need them no more." Well, you know, I need to start that detox again.
So I pray that in the name of Allah, you all gained something from that. And once again, today we dealt with the how of nutrition, not the what. The what you can find on your own. Get the book How to Eat to Live. Get there's so many books out about that. So I don't want to debate with you about that, but the main thing is no matter what you eat, V equals P minus O. And nutrition without detoxification is nutrition.
It's on one disease, right?
In case somebody wants to order the product.
Absolutely. My contact information is 314-279-5880. And you can follow me on my channel on YouTube, The Science of Everything in Life. One word, The Science of Everything in Life. And if you go on Instagram, I'm under Ask Dr. Detox. Now remember, family, there's only one form of disease. There is no disease. There's only constipation. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Does anybody know what time it is? 4:13. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, akbar. We need to make a wudu and make salat. So if you have to make a wudu, make a wudu. We're going to make salat and then break for lunch. I don't know if lunch is here or if we have to go out to get lunch, but we'll break. It's what time? 4:15. So we'll break all the way until 5:30 to give people time to get some food, whether we eat here or go out. So let's make salat and then have lunch, and we'll resume at 5:30 inshallah, about an hour from now. Assalamu alaikum. Great presentation.